The body is still warm. Not warm in the way living skin is warm. Warm in the way something has only just stopped being alive. Grass is pressed flat beneath him, soaked dark. Blood has settled into the ground in uneven pools, thick and heavy, as if the earth itself is struggling to absorb what has been done. His chest barely moves. Each breath is shallow, wet, broken. Someone nearby is screaming into a phone. Someone else is frozen in place, staring, unable to look away. There is so much blood that, at first, no one can tell where it is coming from. It does not look like an injury. It looks like a collapse, like the human body has reached its limit and simply given up. When emergency responders arrive, even they hesitate. For several seconds, no one speaks. One officer later admits that he could not tell where skin ended and wounds began. Everything was red. Everything was fluid. Everything was destruction. No weapon is visible. No attacker is in sight. No witnesses are waiting with answers. Only a man on the grass, torn open by something, or someone, who is already gone. They lift him onto a stretcher. Blood drips through the fabric. Monitors are attached. Hands press against his body, trying to slow what cannot be slowed. Someone keeps saying his name. Someone keeps repeating, "Stay with us. Stay with us." But he doesn't. 45 minutes later, inside a hospital corridor lit by fluorescent bulbs, he is pronounced dead. And in that moment, something else dies with him. The belief that this place is safe. Hours earlier, he had been alive. Laughing, drinking, sitting alone at a bar, jacket draped over a chair, chatting casually with staff. Nothing about him suggested danger. Nothing suggested conflict. No one followed him. No one argued with him. No one watched him leave with intent. Just before 1 in the morning, he stepped outside and disappeared into the night. He took a shortcut, a familiar route, a path he had walked many times before. A park, quiet, dark, still. He lay down on the grass, not collapsed, not unconscious, just tired, just drunk, trying to slow down, trying to sober up, trying to gather enough energy to make it home. A man passed by, asked if he was okay. He said yes. "I'm fine. I'm just resting. I'll be up in a minute." The man warned him to be careful, then kept walking. That was the last confirmed human interaction of his life. Sometime after that, the park became a different place. Somewhere in the darkness, something shifted. Footsteps approached. Grass moved. Air changed. At some point, he woke up. At some point, he realized he was not alone. At some point, he tried to defend himself. The autopsy would later show that clearly. Wounds on his hands, cuts on his arms, marks where fingers had tried to push a blade away. Evidence of struggle, evidence of fear, evidence of understanding. 102 stab wounds. Across his chest, his back, his shoulders, his neck, his face, through his eyes. Again and again. Not fast, not impulsive, sustained, relentless. Someone stood over him and kept going. Long after he stopped fighting. Long after he stopped screaming. Long after mercy should have appeared. It never did. Police arrive before sunrise. They seal off the park. Tape flutters between trees. Torches skin bushes. Cameras click. Measurements are taken. A bloody shoe print sits near the body. More footprints stretch away, fading into darkness. A trail. A direction. A silent map of escape. The killer did not run blindly. He left deliberately. He knew where he was going. He vanished into the early morning without being seen. Investigators reconstruct the timeline. He left the pub before 1. He was discovered at 5:45. That leaves hours. 4 to 5 hours. In darkness. In silence. In isolation. A window wide enough for anything. And small enough for nothing to remain. CCTV shows nothing unusual. No confrontation. No shadow following. No sudden movement. Just ordinary people passing through. 23 individuals appear on camera. All are asked to come forward. All are questioned. Most remember nothing. Some recall vague figures. None can offer answers. There is no knife. No discarded clothing. No fingerprints. No DNA trail leading outward. Despite the violence. Despite the blood. Despite the chaos. It is as if the killer erased himself. The victim is identified. A father. Friendly. Gentle. Known for joking. Known for singing karaoke. Known for trying to rebuild his life after a devastating accident. Not confrontational. Not aggressive. Not connected to crime. No enemies. No debts. No secrets. Nothing that explains this. Why him? Why there? Why like this? Police admit privately what they cannot say publicly. They have no motive. No theory. No suspect. Nothing solid. Fear spreads quietly at first. Then loudly. Then constantly. Patrols increase. Officers flood the streets. Personal alarms are handed out. Thousands of them. People stop walking alone. Shortcuts are abandoned. Parks are avoided. Parents check phones late at night. Doors are locked twice. Windows are checked again. The town changes its behavior. Not because it understands the danger. Because it doesn't. Television programs feature the case. Appeals are repeated. Posters are printed. Faces are shown. Questions are asked. Nothing comes back. Weeks pass. Then months. The investigation slows. The headlines shrink. The story becomes background noise. And slowly, painfully, people begin to adjust. Not heal. Adjust. To the idea that a man can be slaughtered in a public park. And no one will ever know why. 3 months later, the illusion shatters. It is morning. Daylight. Busy hours. A young woman leaves her home. She carries books. She thinks about lectures. Assignments. Deadlines. Her future. She takes her usual path. A quiet trail. A shortcut. A place she trusts. 10 minutes later, she is dead. 2 men searching for a missing cat find her body. Her face is destroyed. One eye hanging. The other swollen shut. Her skull cracked. 16 stab wounds. 2 alone would have been fatal. Both eyes pierced. Again. No weapon. No suspect. No warning. Now, fear becomes panic. 2 victims. 2 open spaces. 2 frenzied attacks. 2 sets of eye wounds. 3 months apart. Coincidence no longer feels convincing. People whisper the word no one wants to say. Serial. Police refuse to confirm it. They also refuse to deny it. Because they are asking the same question. Is someone hunting? Descriptions are released. A man running. A jacket. A bag. A blurry outline of someone who may not even exist. Hundreds are interviewed. Doors are knocked. Homes are searched. A teenager is questioned. Released. A man is arrested. Freed. Leads collapse. Suspects vanish. A year passes. Still nothing. No knife. No confession. No closure. Only 2 graves. In a town that no longer trusts its own pathways. Somewhere, someone knows. Someone remembers. Someone watched. Someone walked away. Someone washed blood from their hands. Someone went back to school. Ate dinner. Scanned headlines. Read comments. Collected articles. Followed the fear. Maybe enjoyed it. No one knows. Not yet. Because the person who did this is still out there. Still breathing. Still thinking. Still blending in. Passing strangers who have no idea who he is. And the most disturbing question hasn't even been asked yet. What if this wasn't the end? What if this was only the beginning? For weeks after the second body is found, the town lives in a suspended state. Not panic. Not calm. Something in between. A constant low-level tension. The kind that settles into daily routines. People still go to work. Still attend lectures. Still walk their dogs. But every movement is measured now. Every unfamiliar face is evaluated. Every shadow is noticed. Every sound is questioned. Nothing feels neutral anymore. Investigators return to the first crime scene. Again, and again, and again. They walk the same paths. Measure the same distances. Study the same photographs. Replay the same footage. They are searching for something they already missed. Because now they know what it means to miss it. 2 murders. Same town. Same method. Same brutality. Same lack of witnesses. Same disappearance. It is no longer just a tragedy. It is a pattern. And patterns mean intent. The first victim had been alone. Drunk. Vulnerable. Asleep on the grass. The second had been walking to class. Focused. Distracted. Routine-bound. Neither had chosen danger. Neither had invited violence. Neither had known what was coming. That similarity unsettles investigators more than any difference. This was not about who they were. It was about where they were. And when. Wrong place. Wrong moment. Someone had been watching for that. Police begin reconstructing movements. Minute by minute. Street by street. Camera by camera. They chart the first victim's final hours. From pub to park. From doorway to darkness. Then they chart the second. From student housing to footpath. From shop to shortcut. 2 ordinary journeys. 2 dead ends. They overlay the maps. Paths intersect. Not physically. Psychologically. Both locations are quiet. Partially hidden. Close enough to homes to feel safe. Far enough away to be isolated. Spaces people pass through without thinking. Spaces no one really owns. No one really monitors. No one really protects. Public briefings grow more cautious. Language becomes precise. Careful. Non-committal. We are exploring all possibilities. We are keeping an open mind. We cannot rule anything out. What they do not say is louder. They are afraid of being wrong again. Afraid of missing something twice. Afraid that someone is learning from them. The media notices the similarities immediately. Headlines begin linking the cases. Speculation spreads. Talk radio fills with theories. Online forums dissect timelines. People start building profiles. Male, young, local, transient, mentally unstable, politically motivated, racially motivated, random, organized. Every theory contradicts another. None can be proven. All sound possible. That uncertainty becomes its own threat. Because if anyone could be responsible, then everyone could be. The second victim's background draws attention. An international student. New to the country. Studying. Focused. Ambitious. She had arrived with plans. With expectations. With family watching from far away. Now they are watching funerals instead. Investigators explore hate crime angles. Cultural tensions. Political motives. Religious hostility. Nothing concrete emerges. No threats. No messages. No online trail. No prior harassment. The attack looks personal. But nothing about it actually is. That contradiction is maddening. Police issue appeals. Again, they ask about movements. About clothing. About anyone seen behaving oddly. They ask people to search their gardens. Their bins. Their sheds. Their garages. For blood. For knives. For anything out of place. Some comply. Some refuse. Some panic. Some realize how close violence can exist to normal life. Without announcing itself. Witnesses come forward. Then withdraw. Statements change. Memories blur. Human recall proves unreliable. One person remembers a man in a jacket. Another remembers someone taller. Another remembers nothing at all. Surveillance footage offers shapes. Not identities. Motion. Not meaning. The killer remains invisible. Inside the investigation rooms, frustration grows. Whiteboards fill with photos. Strings connect locations. Notes accumulate. Questions multiply. Why such extreme violence? Why the eyes? Why no theft? Why no sexual element? Why no message? Why no pattern in victims? Why wait 3 months? Why strike in daylight the second time? Why here? Why now? Each question generates 5 more. None provide answers. Privately, some officers begin to worry. About escalation. About confidence. About repetition. 2 murders unpunished often lead to a third. Not always, but often enough to matter. Someone who kills and walks free learns something. They learn they can. They learn how. They learn what worked. They learn what didn't. And they adjust. The public senses this. Even without being told. People start modifying routes. Students walk in groups. Parents drive short distances. Neighbors check on neighbors. But no one can live like this forever. Vigilance fades. Routine returns. Exposure increases. Time becomes dangerous again. Then, quietly, something is overlooked. A name in a list. A face in an interview room. A teenager questioned briefly. Lives nearby. Has a history of minor offenses. Claims he was home. Provides no evidence. Is released. One of hundreds. Nothing stands out. Nothing feels urgent. He blends back into statistics. Back into paperwork. Back into irrelevance. For now. Meanwhile, the investigation stretches. 900 interviews. Thousands of hours. Countless searches. Rivers dredged. Woodlands combed. Parks revisited. Nothing emerges. No physical proof. No confession. No breakthrough. The case becomes known internally as clean. Not because it is neat. Because there is nothing to hold on to. A year passes. The files grow thicker. Hope grows thinner. Officers rotate. Detectives burn out. Some begin doubting whether it will ever be solved. Two families wait. Two sets of parents wake up every day without answers. Two empty bedrooms remain untouched. Two futures permanently erased. And still, no one is charged. Somewhere, the killer is watching, reading, listening, learning, following every appeal, every press conference, every headline, every mistake, knowing exactly how much the police know, which is almost nothing. And that knowledge is power, because the question is no longer just, who did this? It has become something more disturbing. How did someone do this twice? In the same town, in broad darkness and daylight, and remain completely unseen? And if they can do that, what is stopping them from doing it again? Long before the murders, long before police tape, long before headlines and candlelight vigils, before anyone in the town learned to fear shortcuts. There was a boy, quiet, awkward, unremarkable, easy to overlook. He lived in an ordinary house on an ordinary street, with parents who worked, with neighbors who nodded politely, with teachers who struggled to place him. Nothing about him suggested violence. Nothing about him suggested danger. Nothing about him suggested he would one day be connected to two graves. At school, he was different. Not in a dramatic way. Not in a way that draws immediate attention. In small ways. Subtle ways. Ways that accumulate. He struggled with reading. With spelling. With concentration. Words slipped away from him. Instructions blurred. Assignments piled up. Frustration followed. He wore thick glasses. His ears stuck out slightly. Small details. But in adolescence, small details become targets. Comments turned into jokes. Jokes turned into ridicule. Ridicule turned into routine. He learned early that being visible meant being vulnerable. So he learned to disappear. He withdrew. Spent more time alone. More time online. More time in his room. More time in his head. His grandmother's death hit him hard. She had been stable, predictable, safe. When she was gone, something else went with her. A sense of grounding. A sense of continuity. A sense that things would always be okay. They wouldn't. Teachers noticed changes. Outbursts. Aggression. Confrontations. He kicked. Headbutt. Lashed out. Not constantly. Not enough to trigger removal. Enough to create a reputation. Trouble. Problematic. Difficult. Labels followed him. Once applied, they rarely left. At home, he retreated further. Video games. Violent content. Online forums. Dark corners of the internet. He found places where anger was not judged. Where cruelty was normalized. Where destruction was admired. Where killers were discussed like celebrities. He read about them. Studied them. Memorized details. Methods. Mistakes. Timelines. Interrogations. He learned what worked. He learned what failed. He learned what brought attention and what avoided it. Serial killers became more than stories. They became templates, blueprints, evidence that ordinary people could become extraordinary through violence. That anonymity could be replaced with notoriety. That insignificance could become power. That fear could be manufactured and owned. He saved images, collected articles, revisited cases, again and again and again, not out of curiosity, out of fixation. Socially, he drifted. Friends were few. Conversations were shallow. Relationships never formed. He felt separate, observing life rather than participating in it, watching others experience things he couldn't access. Connection, affection, recognition, belonging. Those remained distant concepts. Inside, something was building. Not suddenly, not dramatically, gradually. Resentment, isolation, obsession, fantasy. He imagined scenarios. Power, control, fear. Situations where he mattered. Where people noticed him. Where he decided outcomes. Where he was no longer invisible. These fantasies grew more detailed, more structured, more rehearsed. They stopped being abstract. They became rehearsals. By his mid-teens, he had already been in contact with police. Minor offenses, robbery with a knife, property damage, nothing that triggered alarm, nothing that suggested escalation. Just another troubled adolescent, another file in a cabinet, another name on a list, another case that would never be reopened until it was too late. Psychologically, cracks widened. He reported hearing voices. Later, he would describe them as commands, as urges, as external forces. But even then, his behavior suggested planning, preparation, secrecy. He learned how to hide thoughts, how to present normalcy, how to answer questions, how to pass. At home, his parents slept at night unaware of browser histories, unaware of mental rehearsals, unaware of obsessions, unaware of resentment fermenting behind closed doors. To them, he was difficult, moody, withdrawn, not dangerous, not monstrous, just complicated. Meanwhile, his environment reinforced isolation, academic struggles, limited praise, social rejection, minimal intervention. Support systems existed, but he didn't engage, or didn't trust, or didn't know how. So he self-medicated, with screens, with fantasies, with violent imagery, with detachment. He began thinking about responsibility, about consequences, about court cases, about diminished responsibility, about insanity defenses, about psychiatric evaluations. He researched how killers explained themselves, how they framed their actions, how they avoided full blame, how they shifted narratives. These were not casual searches. They were strategic. He was thinking ahead. At the same time, he felt increasingly disconnected from reality. Life felt muted, flat, unstimulating. Achievements meant little. Failures meant everything. He oscillated between feeling worthless and feeling superior, between self-loathing and grandiosity, between invisibility and entitlement. These contradictions fed each other. The town did not notice. Why would it? Thousands of teenagers passed through its schools. Thousands struggled. Thousands felt alienated. Most never hurt anyone. There was nothing obvious separating him. Nothing obvious at all. And that is what makes it dangerous. By early 2014, the internal pressure had reached a point of saturation. Thoughts of violence were no longer occasional. They were daily, intrusive, persistent, demanding. He imagined acts, replayed scenarios, evaluated locations, evaluated timing. He looked for places where people would be alone, distracted, unprotected. He noticed parks, trails, paths, shortcuts. He noticed patterns in human behavior. When people walked, when they rested, when they felt safe. He noticed vulnerability. At some point, fantasy stopped being enough. It no longer satisfied. It no longer distracted. It no longer soothed. It demanded escalation. Reality had to match imagination, or the pressure would keep rising. No teacher saw this. No officer noticed. No counselor intervened in time. No adult connected the fragments. Because the fragments were scattered. Across screens. Across notebooks. Across moods. Across years. Individually meaningless. Collectively catastrophic. By the spring of 2014, the foundation was complete. Isolation. Obsession. Resentment. Preparation. Opportunity. Justification. All quietly in place. Waiting. Like dry wood. Like exposed wiring. Like gas in a sealed room. All it needed was a spark. And that spark was coming. The night it begins, nothing feels dramatic. There is no thunder. No argument. No visible breaking point. Inside his house, everything is quiet. Parents asleep. Lights off. Television dark. The rhythm of ordinary life continues uninterrupted. And that is what makes what happens next so disturbing. It grows out of normality. Not chaos. Not crisis. Routine. In his bedroom, he is awake. Not restless. Focused. Alert. He has been awake for hours. Thinking. Replaying. Rehearsing. The thoughts have been looping all evening. Returning. Tightening. Becoming louder. More insistent. He feels pressure behind his eyes. A buzzing in his head. A sense that something must happen. Tonight. Not tomorrow. Not someday. Now, he listens. Footsteps. Breathing. Silence. His parents are asleep. He knows their patterns. Knows when they turn. Knows when they cough. Knows when the house is fully surrendered tonight. He waits. Patient. Controlled. When he is sure, he moves. Slowly. Quietly. No light. No sound. No hesitation. He takes a knife. Large. Sharp. Heavy. Not from impulse. From intention. He puts on gloves. He has thought about fingerprints. He has thought about DNA. He has thought about mistakes. He has learned from others. He is not improvising. He is executing. He opens a downstairs window. Carefully. Lifts it just enough. Slips out. Closes it behind him. The house remains undisturbed. No alarms. No creaking stairs. No slammed doors. Nothing that will be noticed in the morning. He steps into darkness and becomes someone else. Outside, the streets are empty. Early morning quiet. The world asleep. Streetlights flicker. Windows glow faintly. Cars sit motionless. He walks. Not runs. Not rushes. He blends in with shadows. Moves through familiar routes. He knows this area. Has walked these paths before. Has memorized distances. Has timed routes. This is not exploration. It is navigation. He reaches the park. The same shortcut everyone uses. The same open space. The same illusion of safety. Grass damp. Air cool. Trees motionless. The park feels abandoned. It isn't. One man lies on the ground. Asleep. Drunk. Unaware. Vulnerable. The perfect convergence of circumstance. He stops. Watches. Waits. Checks for movement. Listens. Nothing. No reaction. No resistance. Just breathing. For a moment, he hesitates. Not out of empathy. Out of anticipation. This is the moment fantasy meets reality. This is the point where imagination becomes irreversible. Everything after this will be permanent. He knows that. And he steps forward anyway. He stands over the sleeping man. Looks down. Sees a person. A face. A life. And reduces it to a target. A symbol. An opportunity. Something to be used. He raises the knife. And brings it down. The first strike wakes him. Confusion. Pain. Disbelief. The human brain cannot immediately accept this. It searches for explanations. For context. For mistakes. Then the second strike comes. And the third. And the fourth. And understanding arrives too late. The man tries to defend himself. Hands up. Arms raised. Fingers grasping. Trying to push away what cannot be stopped. Trying to reason with something that has no interest in reason. Trying to survive. The attacker does not stop. He enters a state of focus. Not frenzy. Not blind rage. Concentration. Repetition. Control. Movement. Strike. Withdraw. Strike. Withdraw. Again. And again. And again. The world shrinks. To motion. To impact. To sensation. To dominance. Everything else disappears. Time dissolves. Later, he will describe it as losing himself. As being carried. As being commanded. But his actions show coordination. Positioning. Targeting. Awareness. He avoids slipping. Avoids falling. Avoids losing grip. He adjusts his stance. He keeps balance. He remains in control. Eventually, something changes. The man stops fighting. Stops moving. Stops responding. Sounds shift. Breathing becomes wet. Irregular. Fading. That is when he realizes what he has done. Not emotionally. Practically. The target is finished. The risk is increasing. Staying now means capture. He looks around. Light in the distance. Movement. Possibility. He steps back. Wipes the blade. Checks his clothes. No one is nearby. No one is watching. He turns. And walks away. He returns home. Through empty streets. Through sleeping neighborhoods. Through familiar routes. Still calm. Still focused. Still functional. He climbs back through the window. Closes it. Washes the knife. Hides clothing. Returns to his room. Lies down. And waits for morning. By sunrise, he is back in his old life. Son. Student. Teenager. Nothing visible has changed. Inside, everything has. He has crossed a line. And discovered something terrifying. He enjoyed it. Not the pain. The power. The control. The certainty. For the first time in his life, he felt absolute. When news breaks, he watches, reads, listens, observes reactions, police statements, community fear, speculation. He absorbs it, studies it, learns from it. What they know, what they don't, what they missed, what worked. He feels smarter, superior, untouchable. They have nothing. No suspect, no motive, no trail. He succeeded. He did what he imagined, and no one caught him. That realization is intoxicating. Over the following weeks, his confidence grows. He walks differently, thinks differently, feels elevated, above suspicion, above consequence, above ordinary life. The world feels slower, smaller, weaker. He has seen behind a curtain, and nothing scared him anymore. But confidence brings danger. Because satisfaction fades, power dulls, the thrill diminishes, and the mind begins asking, what's next? He returns to his routines. School, home, screens. But everything feels flat now. Compared to what he has done, compared to what he felt, compared to what he knows he can do. Fantasy is no longer enough. It has been surpassed. Reality has proven better. 3 months pass. Externally, he is invisible. Internally, pressure is rising again. The same thoughts return. The same urges. The same planning. The same locations. The same routes. The same calculations. Only now he has experience. He knows he can succeed. He knows he can escape. He knows how it feels. And he wants it again. He begins watching the trail, the footpath, the students, the patterns. Who walks alone? When? Where? How? He notices a woman, walking regularly. Same route, same time, same vulnerability. Routine is predictability. Predictability is opportunity. And somewhere inside him, the decision forms. Quiet, certain, unquestioned. He will do it again. After the first killing, he believes he has mastered something. Not just violence. Invisibility. He has crossed a boundary and returned untouched. No knock on the door. No interview room. No handcuffs. No questions. Life continues as if nothing happened. That absence of consequence becomes its own reward. At school, he sits in classrooms filled with people who discuss homework and weekend plans. No one knows. No one suspects. Teachers look at him and see an average student. Peers see an awkward teenager. They do not see a killer. They cannot imagine one. And that disbelief protects him. He listens closely to conversations. About the murder. About fear. About police. About rumors. He absorbs every word. Each discussion is data. Each reaction is feedback. Each theory is intelligence. He learns what people think happened, where they think it happened, who they think did it, and most importantly, who they do not think did it. Him. Police presence increases. Patrol cars pass more often. Officers walk paths. Cameras are checked. Neighborhood watches form. At first, this unsettles him. He worries about mistakes, about overlooked evidence, about witnesses remembering something new, about DNA tests improving, about time working against him. Pressure builds quietly. He begins monitoring himself, washes hands obsessively, avoids certain routes, changes habits, deletes browser history, controls facial expressions. He studies his own behavior, as if he is both actor and audience, trying to ensure the performance remains believable. At home, his parents notice nothing unusual. Moody, withdrawn, normal for his age. He eats dinner, complains about school, stays in his room, plays games, sleeps late. Everything fits. No one imagines danger in routine. But internally, he is not calm. The power he felt is fading. The certainty is dissolving. What remains is craving and anxiety. He replays the attack in his head. Every detail, every movement, every sensation, trying to relive it, trying to hold on to it. But memory is never enough. At the same time, police investigations intensify. More interviews, more appeals, more reconstructions. They release footage, descriptions, timelines. He studies them obsessively. Where were they close? Where were they wrong? What do they still not see? Each press conference becomes a test, a report card on his success. When months pass with no arrest, relief floods him. They have nothing. He has won. But relief does not bring peace. It brings ambition. If he escaped once, why not again? The second killing is different. Not impulsive, not opportunistic. Planned. He chooses daylight. Morning. A time when fear is low. When people feel protected. When routines dominate. He wants to prove something. To himself. To the world. To whatever internal voice keeps demanding escalation. He wants to show that he can do this anywhere. Anytime. He watches the trail. Learns schedules. Notes patterns. The woman walks alone on Tuesdays. Same time. Same route. Same pace. Predictability is vulnerability. He waits. Days. Weeks. Until everything aligns. When he strikes again, it is faster. More efficient. More controlled. Less hesitation. He approaches from behind. Uses surprise. Uses strength. Uses experience. She has no time. No chance. No understanding. It is over before help can arrive. And once again, he vanishes. But this time, something changes. Witnesses. Someone sees a figure running. Someone notices clothing. Someone remembers details. Not enough. But more than before. Police release descriptions. A jacket. A bag. A direction. The net tightens slightly. He feels it. Not intellectually. Viscerally. A shift in atmosphere. More patrols. More urgency. More intensity. The second murder removes any doubt. This is now a manhunt. Resources expand. Specialists are brought in. Profilers analyze patterns. Data is shared. Mistakes become less likely. The pressure begins to distort him. Sleep suffers. Appetite changes. Irritability increases. He becomes hyper-aware. Every siren feels personal. Every knock sounds threatening. Every unknown number feels dangerous. Paranoia grows. He begins fantasizing about being caught. Interrogations. Trials. Media coverage. Fame. Infamy. He imagines himself studied. Discussed. Analyzed. Feared. He oscillates between wanting anonymity and wanting recognition. Between hiding and being seen. These contradictions exhaust him. To manage anxiety, he retreats further into violent content. More extreme material. More graphic imagery. More disturbing fantasies. He needs higher doses. Stronger stimulation. Normal distractions no longer work. Meanwhile, police make incremental progress. They narrow geographic zones. Analyze phone data. Study school records. Re-examine earlier interviews, including his. His name resurfaces quietly, not as a suspect, as a possibility, a data point, one among many. But once included, it never fully disappears. An officer notices similarities. Age, location, prior contact, proximity. It is subtle, not enough for action, enough for attention. His file is flagged, not highlighted, not prioritized, just marked. A small red dot on a massive map. He senses something is wrong. Not because he knows. Because confidence is fading. The world feels less pliable, less forgiving. He begins making mistakes. Small ones. Inconsistencies. Slip-ups. Nothing obvious. But enough to worry him. He considers killing again. Briefly. Imagines it. Then rejects it. Not out of morality. Out of risk. The environment is too hot. Too watched. Too dangerous. He tells himself he will wait. He will be careful. He will be smarter. But restraint is temporary. The urges never leave. They just hide. They wait. They whisper. They remind him of what he has felt. What he has done. What he could do again. Police interview hundreds. Arrest suspects. Release them. Run out of leads. Then return to old ones. Again and again. Pressure accumulates on both sides. Hunter and hunted, both growing tired, both growing desperate, both nearing breaking points. He does not know it yet, but the investigation is closing in. Not dramatically, not suddenly, gradually, piece by piece, interview by interview, file by file, memory by memory. And somewhere in that growing stack of paperwork, his name is no longer just a statistic. It is becoming a question. By the time the second winter passes, nothing inside him feels stable anymore. What once felt like control now feels like maintenance. What once felt like power now feels like burden. Every day requires effort. Every interaction requires calculation. Every expression must be managed. Every word must be filtered. He is no longer just living. He is performing. At school, his grades slip. Focus evaporates. Teachers notice. They comment. They warn. He nods. Apologizes. Promises improvement. Delivers nothing. His mind is elsewhere. Always elsewhere. Running scenarios. Replaying memories. Anticipating danger. Sleep becomes fragmented. He wakes suddenly. Heart racing. Certain someone is in the house. Certain police are outside. Certain he has been exposed. Then realizes nothing is happening. Again, and again, and again. Fatigue accumulates. Judgment erodes. He starts talking more. Not to friends. To himself. Whispering. Arguing. Rehearsing answers. Practicing denials. Imagining interrogations. He develops scripts. If they ask this, say that. If they show this, deny it. If they mention that, act confused. His life becomes a series of contingency plans. At home, his parents notice changes. Mood swings. Isolation. Sudden anger. Then withdrawal. They worry. But worry does not become action. They assume adolescence. Stress. Hormones. Nothing that requires intervention. Nothing that suggests catastrophe. Police quietly reopen old interviews. They compare statements. Look for inconsistencies. He is contacted again. Brought in casually. Not accused. Not pressured. Just clarification. He agrees. Appears cooperative. Calm. Respectful. He answers smoothly. Too smoothly. Detectives notice. Not proof. Just intuition. Something feels rehearsed. After the interview, he spirals. Every question replays in his head. Every facial expression is analyzed. Did he hesitate? Did he over-explain? Did he contradict himself? He convinces himself he failed. That suspicion is growing. That time is running out. Paranoia deepens. He begins scanning faces in public. Looking for recognition. Looking for judgment. Looking for threat. He avoids eye contact. Then worries that avoidance looks suspicious. He forces himself to look normal. Then worries that looks fake. There is no safe behavior anymore. He starts withdrawing socially. Stops attending activities. Stops responding to messages. Stops trying. Isolation becomes total. His room becomes his fortress. Screens become his shield. Fantasy becomes refuge. Violent thoughts intensify. Not as urges. As intrusions. Images appear uninvited. Scenes replay. Alternative endings. Third victims. Different locations. Different methods. He is disturbed by them. Also attracted to them. The contradiction tears at him. He begins collecting newspaper articles. Cutting them out. Storing them. Rereading them. Studying headlines. Public reactions. Speculation. It is proof of his impact. Evidence of his significance. He keeps it hidden, but returns to it often. His sense of identity fractures. Sometimes he feels superior. Smarter than everyone. Untouchable. Chosen. Other times he feels worthless. Weak. Exposed. Pathetic. Both extremes feel true. Neither feels stable. He experiments with explanations. Mental illness. Voices. External control. He reads about cases where killers avoided full responsibility, where sentences were reduced, where diagnoses mattered. He begins constructing a narrative. Not for now. For later. In case. One afternoon, he walks past the trail. Stops. Looks. Stares. Feels something stir. A memory. A sensation. A craving. He realizes he is standing where she died. No marker. No sign. Just dirt and leaves. People walk by unaware. Life continues. That realization unsettles him. His greatest act has already been absorbed by time. Forgotten. Reduced to files. That hurts. The idea of being forgotten terrifies him more than prison. Anonymity is unbearable. Irrelevance is worse than punishment. He wants his actions to matter. To persist. To echo. Police pressure increases subtly. More patrols. More community meetings. More attention to troubled youths. More school liaison officers. He notices. Everything feels targeted, even when it isn't. Then comes the phone call. A witness. A tip. Someone saw something. Police want to follow up. Nothing urgent. Just routine. But to him, it feels fatal. He begins to unravel. Emotional control collapses. He lashes out verbally, then apologizes, then withdraws. His parents suggest counseling. He refuses, then agrees, then misses appointments. Inconsistency becomes pattern. He starts wearing heavy clothing, jackets, gloves, even in warm weather, partly to hide, partly to feel armored, partly to feel prepared. Prepared for what? He isn't sure. One morning, walking near the trail again, he notices a woman walking her dog. She looks at him, holds his gaze. Too long. He feels exposed, seen, judged, threatened. He freezes, then turns away, heart racing. That moment lodges in his mind, replays, distorts, grows. Days later, he returns. Same place, same time, wearing the jacket, wearing gloves, carrying a knife, not with a clear plan, with desperation. He is unraveling. He needs release, needs control, needs silence. He stands on a small bridge, watching, waiting, scanning, looking for opportunity. But he is not calm, not patient, not strategic. He is jittery, erratic, shifting weight, looking around too much. Anyone watching would notice. And someone does. A woman walking her dog sees him, feels something is wrong, feels danger, feels instinct. She leaves, returns with another woman. He is moved, now crouching, hiding, still watching, still waiting, still unstable. She calls the police. Not certain, not confident, just worried, just uneasy, just unwilling to ignore her instincts. That decision changes everything. When officers arrive, he tries to appear normal, claims he is clearing his head, says he feels unwell. They notice the jacket, the gloves, the heat, the mismatch. They ask if he has anything on him. He admits to the knife. He is arrested. For that. Only that. At first. In the car, something breaks. Relief. Fear. Collapse. The performance is over. The fracture is complete. He does not know yet that this small stop, this minor call, this ordinary act of caution, has just ended everything. At first, it feels almost anticlimactic. No shouting. No sirens blaring. No dramatic takedown. Just a patrol car. 2 officers. A quiet conversation. A routine search. A pair of handcuffs. For a knife. That is all. Not for murder. Not for suspicion. Not for the past. Just for carrying a weapon. He tells himself it is manageable. Minor. Temporary. Something he can talk his way out of. He has rehearsed for worse. Inside the station, he sits alone in a small room. Plastic chair. Bare table. Neutral walls. A clock ticking too loudly. Time stretches. Minutes feel like hours. He studies the room. Looking for cameras. Looking for microphones. Looking for angles. Still performing. Still calculating. An officer brings water. Speaks politely. Asks basic questions. Name. Age. Address. Nothing threatening. Nothing accusatory. He answers calmly. Steadily. Too steadily. Years of rehearsal now in use. They begin with the knife. Where did it come from? Why was he carrying it? What was he planning to do? He gives vague answers. Protection. Habit. Didn't think. Didn't mean anything. The officers listen. Do not argue. Do not confront. They let him talk. Let him fill space. Let him reveal patterns. Then they shift. Softly. Almost imperceptibly. They mention the trail. The earlier murders. Community fear. His proximity. His prior interview. His past offense. Each detail is dropped casually, like stray observations. He feels the net tightening. His heartbeat accelerates. He controls his breathing. Keeps his face neutral. But internally, panic surges. This is it. This is the moment. Everything he has feared is here. They do not accuse him. They ask if he ever walks through the park. If he knew the victims. If he remembers those days. If he read about the cases. He says yes. Everyone did. Normal answer. Safe answer. But something in his voice shifts. Just enough. They pause. Leave the room. Return with another officer. More paperwork. More time. More waiting. Psychological pressure through stillness. He has nothing to do but think. And thinking is dangerous now. Memories flood. The grass. The breathing. The knife, the sounds, the blood, the running, the washing, the watching, the headlines. He tries to suppress them, fails. They surface uninvited. Relentlessly, when questioning resumes, it becomes more direct. They ask about clothing, jackets, gloves, bags. They mention witnesses, descriptions, times, locations, not proof, but proximity, circumstance, opportunity. He begins to fracture. Words come faster. Explanations lengthen. Details multiply. Over-explaining. Correcting himself. Adding unnecessary context. Classic signs. He knows this and cannot stop. Then something shifts inside him. The exhaustion. The paranoia. The months of pressure. The constant performance. It becomes unbearable. He feels cornered. Exposed. Trapped. He wants it to end. He starts talking about voices. About urges. About losing control. About not feeling like himself. About being commanded. About darkness. About influence. About forces. He is testing a narrative. Seeing how they react. They listen carefully. Do not validate. Do not reject. They note. They ask him to explain more. He does. And more. And more. The story grows. Elaborates. Contradicts. Shifts. Changes. Becomes unstable. Like his mental state. Then comes the turning point. A question that feels harmless. But isn't. Why that park? He hesitates. Too long. His mind races. Constructs. Rejects. Reconstructs. He gives an answer. It doesn't fit. They know. He knows they know. Something breaks. He stops performing. Not fully. Partially. Enough. He begins admitting. Not everything. Fragments. Hints. Suggestions. He speaks about being there. About watching. About thinking. About planning. About wanting. The officers exchange glances. They adjust posture. Lean forward. Tone changes. This is no longer routine. This is confession territory. They present evidence. Not much, but enough. Phone data. Location pings. Movement patterns. Timing. Associations. Coincidences. Too many coincidences. He cannot explain them all. He starts crying. Then stops. Then laughs briefly. Then goes silent. Emotional whiplash. Collapse. Dissociation. Everything he built is falling. Hours pass. Statements are taken. Breaks are given. Psychologists are consulted. Parents are notified. He is no longer just a suspect. He is a focal point. Eventually, he says it. Not dramatically. Not proudly. Almost casually. I did it. Then corrects. I think I did. Then again. I know I did. He describes the first killing. Details only the killer could know. Positions. Movements. Sensations. Mistakes. He describes the second. The approach. The strike. The escape. The fear. The relief. The thrill. Each word locks him deeper. Irreversible. Detectives listen. Silent. Focused. They have been waiting over a year for this. Now it is happening. And it feels unreal. He talks about obsession. About serial killers. About planning. About watching coverage. About collecting clippings. About feeling powerful. About feeling empty. About wanting more. He admits he thought about killing again. Daily. Constantly. Relentlessly. That admission chills everyone in the room. This was not over. It was paused. By morning, everything is different. Charges are prepared. Evidence is assembled. Media is alerted. The town will soon know. Families will soon know. The truth will replace speculation. He is transferred to secure psychiatric care. Evaluations begin. Reports are ordered. Experts are summoned. Now the question is no longer who. It is what and how much responsibility. But for him, one truth is clear. There is no going back. No rewriting. No escape. The life he built on secrecy is gone. Exposed. Dissected. Public. Permanent. And somewhere, in two separate homes, two families are about to learn that the person who destroyed their lives was not a shadow, not a stranger, not a mystery. He was a boy, living nearby, hiding in plain sight. Once the confession is signed, the world accelerates. For more than a year, everything had moved slowly. Interviews, appeals, dead ends, silence. Now, suddenly, There is momentum. Files are pulled. Evidence is re-examined. Statements are compared. Timelines are reconstructed. What once felt fragmented begins to align. The picture is horrifying and complete. Detectives return to old case notes. They realize how close they had been, how many times his name appeared, how often he had brushed past suspicion. An early interview, a minor offense, proximity to crime scenes, a history of carrying knives. It was all there, but scattered, disconnected, unprioritized. No single piece was enough. Together, they are devastating. They retrieve discarded records, search waste sites, revisit rivers, hope for weapons, clothing, anything. Most of it is gone, destroyed, buried, washed away. Time has done its work. The killer had understood this. He had planned for it. Digital forensics uncovers more. Search histories, saved images, bookmarks, folders, archives, obsession documented in pixels, serial killers, interrogations, court transcripts, crime scene photos. It is not curiosity. It is devotion, an education, a syllabus of violence. Investigators open notebooks, find clippings, annotations, underlined headlines, dates circled, quotes highlighted, evidence of pride, of ownership, of participation. He did not just commit crimes. He curated them. Psychiatric evaluations begin immediately. Specialists interview him for hours, days, weeks. They assess cognition, emotion, impulse control, reality testing, empathy, risk. He presents differently each time. Sometimes remorseful, sometimes detached, sometimes grandiose, sometimes childlike. There is no stable version, only fragments. He talks about voices, commands, darkness, external forces, loss of control, but inconsistencies appear. Details change, sources shift. Sometimes the voices are internal, sometimes external, sometimes absent, sometimes dominant. The narrative adapts to context, to audience, to advantage. Experts debate. Is it psychosis? Personality disorder? Autism spectrum traits? Manipulation? Some combination? Some see vulnerability. Some see calculation. Some see both. No consensus forms. And that matters, because consensus determines fate. Meanwhile, the news breaks. Headlines explode. A teenager. 2 murders. A quiet town. A hidden predator. Shock ripples outward. People reevaluate memories. Reinterpret encounters. Search past interactions for warning signs. Did you notice anything? Was he strange? Did he ever say something? Retrospective clarity creates illusions. Everyone thinks they saw it coming. No one did. Families receive answers. Not relief. Not closure. Answers, which are heavier. The killer is young. Too young. Younger than expected. Younger than imagined. That knowledge complicates grief. How do you process loss caused by someone who was still a child? How do you hate and pity simultaneously? How do you mourn and rage at once? Court proceedings begin. Because of his age, restrictions apply. Names withheld. Details limited. Protection offered. Privacy maintained. For him, not for the victims. Their lives are already public. Their deaths dissected. He pleads diminished responsibility. Claims lack of control. Claims illness. Claims voices. Claims compulsion. It is a strategic move, not spontaneous. He has studied this, prepared this, rehearsed this. This is his last defense. Prosecutors counter. They present planning, preparation, concealment, escape, evidence of awareness, evidence of control, evidence of intent. You do not hide evidence if you think you are possessed. You do not study legal defenses by accident. You do not wash knives without understanding consequences. Expert witnesses testify. Some support mitigation. Some reject it entirely. One psychiatrist calls his claims theatrical, inconsistent, unconvincing, designed to distance himself. Another describes violent fantasies beyond anything they have encountered. Not confusion, not delirium, fixation. The trial unfolds slowly, painfully. Details are repeated. Photos displayed. Statements read. Families listen. Public watches. The town relives everything. Again and again And again, he watches too. Expressionless, detached, occasionally bored, sometimes amused, sometimes vacant, rarely emotional. When emotion appears, it feels performative, calculated, untrustworthy. Behind closed doors, he fluctuates. One day, he regrets everything. The next, he feels justified. Says victims were sinful. Says they were careless. Says they should not have been there. Shifts blame. Deflects responsibility. Minimizes harm. Classic patterns. Verdict day arrives. The courtroom fills. Families sit rigid. Journalists line benches. He stands. Listens. Is found guilty. Unanimously. No ambiguity. No doubt. The story ends here. Legally. Sentencing follows. The judge speaks carefully. Acknowledges age. Acknowledges diagnoses. Acknowledges background. Then rejects excuses. Calls the murders sadistic. Horrific. Beyond comprehension. States that autism does not excuse violence. That illness does not erase agency. That choice matters. 2 life sentences. Minimum term. Decades. A lifetime under supervision. Conditional freedom, if ever. Permanent monitoring. Permanent stigma. Permanent consequences. He shows no reaction. No tears. No visible remorse. No acknowledgement. His mother cries. He shrugs. Mouths indifference. A final act of defiance. Or emptiness. No one can tell. The fall is complete. From invisibility to infamy. From secrecy to scrutiny. From fantasy to confinement. From control to captivity. Everything he sought through violence is taken away by it. But victory feels hollow. Because nothing has been restored. 2 lives remain gone. 2 families remain broken. A town remains changed. Trust remains damaged. Shortcuts remain avoided. Memories remain haunted. The system has acted. Justice has been delivered. On paper. But emotionally, nothing is resolved. Because this was never just about law. It was about safety, meaning, predictability. And those are harder to restore. And somewhere, behind walls and schedules and locks, he now sits. With time. Endless time. To think about what he did. Or to rewrite it. Or to deny it. Or to celebrate it. No one knows. After the trial ends, the town expects silence. Closure. A return to normal. That is what people are promised when a case is solved. That once the killer is named, once the sentence is handed down, once the headlines fade, life will resume. It never does. It only rearranges itself around what happened. The park remains open. The grass grows back. Footpaths are repaired. Benches are repainted. Children play again. Joggers return. Dog walkers resume routines. On the surface, nothing looks different. But no one lies down on the grass anymore. No one rests there at night. No one falls asleep under trees. Some spaces remember, even when people pretend they don't. The trail where the second victim died becomes just another path on a map. Students still walk it. Cyclists still pass through. Leaves still fall. Snow still settles. But many choose longer routes. Brighter routes. Routes with witnesses. Routes with escape. Fear reshapes geography. Quietly. Permanently. For the families, time behaves differently. Days stretch. Weeks collapse. Years blur. Grief does not fade. It mutates. Some mornings, it feels manageable. Some afternoons, it feels lethal. Birthdays. Holidays. Anniversaries. Every milestone is a reminder. Every achievement is shadowed by absence. There is no finish line for mourning. The first victim's children grow older. Without him, they develop memories that do not include his voice, his advice, his mistakes, his laughter. They learn who he was through photographs, stories, secondhand memories. He becomes an idea, not a presence. That loss compounds over decades. The second victim's family remains divided by distance, by borders, by language, by culture. Grief crosses all of them, but it does not travel easily. They mourn in isolation, watching court proceedings from afar, reading translations, receiving filtered information, trying to understand a system that is not theirs, trying to accept a loss that makes no sense anywhere. The investigators move on. Officially, new cases, new victims, new files, but some never really leave this one. They remember details no one else does. The smell of the park, the tone of the confession, the look in his eyes. Certain cases imprint. They become internal landmarks, markers of failure, of perseverance, of human unpredictability. The woman who called police lives with her own version of aftermath. She is told she saved lives. She is praised, thanked, recognized. But she also carries something heavier. The knowledge of how close she was, how easily she could have kept walking, how thin the line was between safety and death. That awareness never leaves. It reshapes every decision, every instinct, every hesitation. He remains confined, transferred between facilities, evaluated repeatedly, reviewed periodically, reports written, rewritten, updated. Some doctors believe he has changed. Some believe he hasn't. Some believe he never will. Predicting human violence is imprecise. No model is reliable. No assessment is final. Uncertainty persists. Occasionally, his name reappears. In appeals, in reviews, in articles, in documentaries, in online discussions. Each appearance reopens wounds. For families, for witnesses, for the town, for people who want nothing more than to forget. Online, strangers argue. Was he evil? Was he sick? Was he responsible? Was he failed? Was it preventable? Was it inevitable? Every position feels incomplete. Every answer feels insufficient. Because none of them bring anyone back. Some focus on warning signs. Isolation, obsession, violent media, behavioral issues, missed interventions. They search for patterns, for lessons, for systems to improve, for ways to prevent repetition. But prevention is imperfect. Always has been. Always will be. Others focus on randomness. Wrong place. Wrong time. Pure chance. They find comfort in unpredictability. Because predictability implies responsibility. And responsibility implies that someone could have stopped it. That is harder to live with. Years pass. New students arrive. Old residents move away. People who remember the murders become fewer. Memories thin. Details fade. What remains is simplified. 2 murders. 1 killer. Case closed. But reality was never that neat. Inside archives, files remain. Thousands of pages. Interviews. Photos. Statements. Evidence logs. Psychiatric reports. Each document is a fragment of human failure. Individual and collective. No single mistake. No single cause. Only accumulation. Some nights, people still think about it. Unprompted. A sound. A smell. A headline. A shadow in a park. Memory activates. And for a moment, 2014 returns. Fresh. Immediate. Unresolved. And then there is the question no one asks out loud. But many think. What if that phone call had not been made? What if the woman had ignored her instinct? What if she had kept walking? What if she had decided not to bother police? What if she had assumed someone else would act? What if she had been polite instead of cautious? In that version of events, he walks away. Again. Returns home. Again. Plans. Again. Waits. Again. Kills. Again. And again. And again. He once said he wanted 15 victims. No one knows if that number meant anything, or if it was just another fantasy, another exaggeration, another attempt to shock. But it lingers, because it might not have been. The town never learns how close it came to becoming a case study, a cautionary tale, a serial killing cluster, a place defined forever by repetition, instead of interruption. Nothing about this story ends cleanly. Not for the families, not for investigators, not for the community, not even for him, because his life is now a loop. Reviews, reports, reassessments, speculation, waiting, endless waiting. And perhaps the most unsettling realization is this. For over a year, he lived among everyone, went to school, walked paths, spoke to neighbors, answered police questions, watched coverage of his own crimes, collected articles about his own victims. And no one knew. Not teachers, not friends, not family, not authorities, not neighbors, not strangers. No one. Which raises a final question that has no comfortable answer. If someone capable of that level of violence can exist so quietly, so unnoticed, So close. So ordinary. How many others are walking past us right now, carrying secrets that haven't surfaced yet? And how would we ever know? Until it's too late? Years later, visitors still walk through the park. They do not know where to look. No plaque marks the spot. No fence surrounds it. No sign explains what happened. There is nothing to indicate that, in this exact place, a man once fought for his life for hours while the rest of the city slept. The grass looks ordinary. Too ordinary. It always does. On the trail near the university, students still pass each other every morning. Headphones in, eyes down, thoughts elsewhere. Most of them were children when it happened. Some were not even born. To them, this is just a shortcut, a convenient route, a line on a map, not a crime scene, not a memory, not a warning. Time has buried the story better than any investigation ever could. Inside archives, boxes remain sealed. Evidence bags, interview tapes, psychiatric reports, thousands of pages documenting how 2 lives ended and 1 life collapsed. They are rarely opened now, only when someone new asks old questions, only when another case looks similar, only when history threatens to repeat itself. In one of those files is a transcript of his confession. Every word preserved, every pause recorded, every hesitation noted. It reads calmly, methodically, almost casually. There is no rage in it, no chaos, no visible madness, just description, which makes it harder to read, not easier. There are also letters. Some he wrote, some he never sent, some he did. Fragments of reflection, excuses, justifications, regret, then denial, then silence. They contradict each other, like everything else about him. No single version lasts. Psychologists still debate him. In conferences, in journals, in training sessions. Was he a product of failure, of neglect, of isolation, of untreated illness, of obsession, of choice? Every theory explains something. None explains everything. Because people are not equations, and violence is not a formula. Occasionally, his name appears in parole reviews. Not because release is likely, because systems require review, even when outcomes never change. Each time, families are notified. Each time, they relive everything. Each time they wait. Each time, they are told nothing will happen. Each time, something inside them breaks again. Quietly, the children of the first victim grow into adults. They carry his absence into relationships, into careers, into parenthood, into every major decision. They learn resilience, not by choice, by necessity. They learn how to smile while carrying loss, how to succeed while missing guidance, how to live without closure. The second victim's family visits when they can. They stand near the trail. They pray. They cry. They leave. They return home to a country where the story is distant, foreign, hard to explain, harder to accept. They live between 2 worlds. Neither feels complete. People who were interviewed sometimes remember it randomly. A knock at the door, a badge, a question, a photograph. They wonder if they missed something, said something wrong, forgot something important. Guilt attaches itself to witnesses, even when it shouldn't. The woman who made the call still walks her dog. Different routes, different times, different habits. She trusts her instincts now more than ever. She teaches others to do the same. Not loudly, not dramatically, just quietly, consistently. And he remains where he is, behind routines, behind regulations, behind locked doors. His days are measured, scheduled, observed, controlled. Everything he once wanted, in the most distorted form possible. Sometimes he participates in therapy. Sometimes he refuses. Sometimes he shows insight. Sometimes he shows nothing. Reports remain inconclusive. They always do. What is certain is this: 2 people are dead, because one person decided they mattered less than his fantasies, less than his anger, less than his need for control. That imbalance cannot be corrected, only acknowledged. Every generation believes it understands danger better than the last. That technology will help. That awareness will help. That data will help. That profiling will help. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. Because violence adapts. It hides. It waits. It learns. Just like those who try to stop it. There was no mastermind here, no criminal empire, no grand ideology, no manifesto, just a quiet teenager, a knife, and a series of choices, made privately, repeated secretly, executed efficiently, ignored accidentally, until it was too late. And that may be the most disturbing truth of all. Not that monsters exist, but that sometimes they don't look like monsters. They look like students, neighbors, strangers, people standing next to you in line, people walking past you in parks, people you would never notice twice. So the story does not end in a courtroom, or a sentence, or a prison gate. It ends in uncertainty, in vigilance, in the fragile hope that the next instinct is trusted, that the next warning sign is noticed, that the next opportunity for prevention is taken. Because somewhere right now, someone is being ignored. Someone is being underestimated. Someone is being dismissed as harmless. Someone is being overlooked. And no one knows yet which story they are becoming.